Hey, y'all, Zach McDonald, your real estate agent with Real Property Associates, and this is my Seattle Real Estate Market Watch for May 22nd, 2024. Well, if you've been following along with these market watches for a while, you've noticed I haven't made one the past couple weeks. Last week, we did the monthly market updates where we talked about the King County and Snohomish County stats. We also looked at the Seattle Bellevue kind of west side, east side comparison last week. And now we're jumping back on the market watches. I was sick here over the past few weeks, really battling some virus, I think, plus pink eye. I feel like I'm back in elementary school again, but I do have multiple elementary school age kids. And for whatever reason, we're getting towards the end of the year. Everybody's passing around the last couple viruses. So anyways, I'm back, feeling better, excited to start making some more videos again on a regular basis. But last week, we talked about the monthly stats. We talked about how home prices are up year over year in pretty much everywhere across King and Snohomish County. We talked about how houses are selling over asking price in King and Snohomish County on average. If you haven't yet, go ahead and listen to those updates. I think there's some really good context for what's been happening this spring and is continuing to happen. And we find ourselves looking back at last year's market watch. I looked over that here before filming, and what I found is that we're in a very similar place as far as interest rates, right around 7%, and Mortgage News Daily here today, rates were at 7.09% on their daily survey. Mortgage News Daily, if you haven't checked it out, is a great resource if you're curious what's going on with the mortgage rates. They do a survey of many of the top lenders and give you that data. It's pretty awesome. So you can see 30-year fix, you can see the 15 years, the ARMs, all that kind of stuff. It's awesome. Now, if we're looking at the big differences, I would say, between this week and then the last few weeks, I think I'm noticing a trend of more pending sales and more solds. So we've been having more inventory coming on the market, but not maybe more than last year. It's about the same if we look back at last year versus this year's amount of new listings. But we did see a slight uptick, so 761 new listings here versus 750 at the same time last week. We saw 350 price reductions versus 272. So I'd say that's pretty dramatic. That's a lot of price reductions to see. And as much as things are selling over asking price, and there's a lot of pent-up demand, there are multiple offers on many things. I've got buyers in different price points that are competing for their homes. Over asking price, waiving contingencies, again, right? Even with 7% rates. Something I predicted earlier in the year, we're there. We are in the thick of it. Now, price reductions are happening at the same time. What does that mean? I think that there are listings. It's still possible to price a house too high. It's still possible to overprice a house. Everything is not selling immediately. That is a misconception. What is true is that homes that are priced accurately in line with the market, and in some cases even a little bit less, are getting the attention, multiple offers. There are also some houses that are sometimes higher priced homes. Maybe the homes have some weird things going on, and or in most cases they're just overpriced given all those different variables. They're still seeing price reductions. So if you're a buyer in the market, and this is advice I give to every buyer, there are certain houses that might get overlooked because they're priced a little bit higher than they should be. Those might be worth taking a look at, offering and trying to negotiate price down and also some of the terms. When the market's really competitive, those are great opportunities to get a home without all the competition and even at a better price. Usually when a house has had price reductions, the seller is a little bit more willing to negotiate. When there are multiple offers, there's not a lot of negotiating going on besides making your offer look more appealing to the seller. It's almost like, hey, we'll just give you everything, including our firstborn child. That's a bad joke, by the way. I've got 5 and I'm not trying to give anybody my children. But the point is, when you have a lot of offers and competition, you have no leverage in a negotiation as a buyer. The seller has all the leverage. But when a house has been sitting on the market, maybe they've dropped the price a few times, that's where you have a chance as a buyer to negotiate a little bit in your favor versus the seller's favor. So just something to share and think about as a buyer. If you're thinking about buying in the Seattle area, don't overlook the homes that have been sitting on the market for a little while. And yeah, sometimes they're sitting on the market because there's some weird stuff. And other times it's just the price is a little bit high. And buyers know that, and they might not even go look at it because they're comparing it with other houses in a similar price point, and those other houses are better. But sometimes there are things that are wrong. So it goes both ways. Now let's look at contingent sales. That's where you buy and you're buying contingent on the sale of your house. We have 17 last week, 19 this week, pretty similar numbers, but it's showing there's still possibility to do that in this market. I would say it's going to be on some of those properties that are most likely overpriced, or and maybe in the outliers, maybe location isn't quite as great. That's where you're seeing those contingent purchases. If a house, again, is in a great location, priced well, it's going to be selling quickly, multiple offers. You're not seeing a contingent purchase there usually, not right now. Now, pendings, we saw a good uptick there, 936 versus 859 last week. We also saw an uptick in the solds. We are nearing the end of the month, so that makes a lot of sense. 859 was our pendings, 655 were the solds last week. This week, 673. So a little uptick there in the sales. And we're seeing, if we look at rates, again, rates I mentioned right around 7.1% on Mortgage News Daily survey, 7.09. Last week, 7.11. So rates have kind of up and down right in that 7% mark. We still don't know if and when rates are coming down this year. I think I'm still holding out hope, and a lot of people are predicting we're still going to see that. It's looking like probably more like next year, to be honest. So even with all of that, we're still seeing a lot of that competition returning and buyers competing with terms, with the contingencies, and also with the price. There's a buyer in specific that I'm working with right now, and it's kind of the bread and butter median sales price in Linwood. And everything has had 4, 5, 10 offers, way over asking price, and contingencies removed. So it's tough. It's tough to be a buyer right now. And, I think of that buyer in specific. There are a lot of other people in that bucket that are looking to buy their first house, kind of the starter price points in the 700-800s, and there is a lot of competition. And sellers are loving it right now, but it is tough for buyers. Now, where are we headed? Is this going to continue all summer? The thing that would cause this to continue, I would think even for the whole year, would be rates starting to come down. We might see a really prolonged selling season, but we're also heading towards the summer where usually we have a substantial amount of listings, and the summer is usually better for buyers. You would think it would be better for sellers, right? But usually there are people on trips and vacations. There are usually in our area less multiple offer scenarios in the summer statistically than there are in the spring. So for those buyers that are competing right now, maybe missing out, I think there's also hope that the summer's coming. And if you're able to be flexible and available during the summer, you might get a property with a little less competition, not because prices have really changed much, but just because that given week, there's a little less competition. So take heart. If you're a buyer, I would stick with it. I think the summer is probably a great opportunity if you're able to wait that long. Not necessarily wait for it, but be ready for it. Start looking now, right? If you get something here now, great. If not, maybe you'll be able to get something this summer with a little less competition. Sellers, well, I think the news is out. Multiple offers are back. Competition's back. So if you're thinking about making a move, you're in luck, right? Prices, I mentioned in my most recent updates. Again, check those out. If you haven't, we are almost near the all-time highs again. So prices have returned and are continuing to trend upwards. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, you have questions about the market, I would love to be a resource for you. I love making these videos, and I love even more helping people navigate home buying and selling here in Seattle. So feel free to reach out anytime. I'm happy to be a resource for you.